Chapter 1, 107, 6th Year Negotiations. Sunday, January 15th, 1977. He slept as late as possible the next morning to put off further confrontation. He couldn't talk to them. Not yet. Not until his head was straight. They'd have so many questions. Some he couldn't answer. Some he didn't want to. He showered for longer than usual. Something of Livia seemed to cling to him, and he turned the tap right up, trying to scald it off. The claw marks she had left were healing already, but still itched under Remus's scratchy wool jumper. Washed and dressed, Remus went to his trunk and looked for a spare bit of parchment before scrawling an untidy note. "If you're still in the village, I'd like to talk to you again." He folded it in a hurry, shoved it in his pocket and headed for the owlery. The marauders were all in the common room, in much the same state as they had been the night before. Remus looked at them, panicked, then bent his head and kept walking.
"Mooney, wait!"
They followed him, all three, through the portrait hole. No matter, they couldn't discuss it in the open. He knew this, and they knew it.
"I'm going to the owlery,"
he said, marching ahead.
"Don't you want breakfast?"
"After."
"Mooney, can we talk about what happened last night?"
James asked, sounding very tired still. Remus supposed he'd been bearing the brunt of Sirius's frustration. Good. Let someone else do that for a bit.
"Not here."
Unfortunately, they all followed him to the owlery, which happened to be completely empty, except for owls, of course, most of which were sleeping.
"Who are you writing to?"
Sirius asked at once. Remus closed his eyes, sighed, and resumed tying his note to the nearest owl.
"Ferox. My old professor."
"Why?"
Remus dropped the string he was using and tutted as he had to bend to pick it up. He continued to explain, calmly.
"He's in Hogsmeade. I saw him last night, but I want to see him again."
"What was he doing in?"
Remus tutted again, fumbling with his third attempt to tie the note to the agitated owl's leg. Sirius was standing much too close, leaning over him, demanding answers, and Remus could barely concentrate.
"He's working with Moody, and he got summoned there to bring me back."
"Summoned by who?"
"Fucking hell, give me a minute, will you?"
Remus snapped. Sirius stood back, looking as if he'd very much like to say something else, but was biting his tongue. James touched his shoulder again. Remus ignored them both and tied the letter to the bird, maybe a bit too tight, because it pecked him angrily before flying off, down towards the village. He could stay there maybe, it might not take very long, but his stomach growled. He turned to look at his friends.
"Okay, breakfast?"
"Are you going to tell?"
"Yes, Padfoot. Fine. Let's, get some toast and go for a walk or something, okay?"
So that's what they did. Remus buttered at least 5 slices of toast in the great hall, wrapped them in napkins and stuffed them into the pockets of his robes. The other 3 marauders followed him, watching cautiously as if they weren't quite sure what to make of him yet.
"Right. You all need to shut up and let me tell it to you, okay? No interruptions,"
he said. Once they were outside, they nodded solemnly as they walked. He saw Sirius purse his lips. Tough, Remus thought spitefully. You can listen to me for once. So, he talked. He found it much easier than telling Dumbledore. At least he knew for sure that the marauders were on his side. He tried to explain everything with as little emotional context as possible. He had known there was a werewolf nearby. He went to find them. He met Livia. Ferox intervened.
"Moody talked to me last summer. He said something to me, and it just made me think about how useful I can be, that's all. I have to stop looking at my furry little problem as a problem. If we're going to war with dark creatures, then as a dark creature I ought to be."
"You're not a dark creature. You're our Mooney,"
James said suddenly. Remus shrugged. He wouldn't have put money on James being the first to interrupt, but now he was pretty glad he had. He left a pause. There was nothing more to tell. James was still looking at him, with a small crease between his eyebrows. He pushed his glasses up his nose, clearly thinking very deeply. Peter, of course, looked anxious. He was staring at his feet, rubbing his hands together. Remus didn't look at Sirius. He looked for his fags instead.
"So, she's gone now, has she? The werewolf?"
James said, after swallowing.
"Livia. Yeah, I think Ferox scared her off."
"Too bloody right. And I bet with Moody on the case she won't be back any time soon, eh? So, are you in a lot of trouble? With Dumbledore?"
"I don't think so."
Remus sighed. He rubbed his sore hip.
"I think Dumbledore was more worried about me mucking up his spy ring rather than breaking any rules."
"He wouldn't want to see you hurt, any of us,"
James said sincerely. He eyed Remus's awkward posture.
"Come on, there's a bench down here. You can finish your toast."
They made slow progress down towards the edge of the lake, where there were a few stone benches. It was too cold for anyone else to be out at this time on a Sunday, and Remus watched the late morning mist drift across the dark surface of the water as he chewed on the remains of his crusts. Sirius hadn't spoken yet since the owlery, and Remus was trying not to notice it. Sirius felt betrayed. Remus knew that as sure as he knew his own name. Betrayed even if he didn't really have a right to feel it. "This isn't about you," Remus wanted to hiss at doleful, silent Sirius.
Can't believe we all slept through the most exciting night of the year, eh?
James nudged Remus, trying to bring a bit of levity to the otherwise rather somber atmosphere.
It wasn't that exciting. I was crap. If Ferox hadn't come, I don't know.
Remus grinned back, giving him what he wanted.
Do you think she could have disapparated with you?
Peter asked, still wringing his pudgy little hands.
I don't know. I got the impression anyway that she needed me to agree. Like it had to be me who made the decision. Otherwise, I suppose they could all just gang up and snatch me.
Well then, there's no problem, is there? Well, I mean, there's no question.
James said, slapping his thigh triumphantly.
No, of course not. I'd never join Greyback.
Well then,
James repeated, satisfied. Remus looked at his hands, still greasy from the toast. He wiped them on his trouser legs. Of course not. Of course he would never. Except...
Mooney,
James said, sensing the odd quiet.
I'd never join him. And Livia she was awful, but not everything she said was wrong.
Remus said carefully.
What's that supposed to mean?
Sirius burst out. Remus still didn't look at him, growing hot.
Just that. Well, wizards treat us unfairly, and... Ugh, you lot wouldn't understand.
Sirius sprang up, as if he had been wound up to breaking point. He glared at Remus as if he was about to start screaming at him. Then he walked away, at an impossible pace.
Black, oi!
James stood up.
It's fine. Sorry, I shouldn't have said anything. I can't explain properly.
Remus waved a hand.
He's been such a moody git lately.
James huffed, still watching the other boy storm away.
Go after him if you want. Honestly, you're the best at sorting him out when he's like that. Me and Wormy'll find you later, yeah?
Okay. Thanks, Mooney.
James said, already moving.
Those two are so weird sometimes. I swear I never know what anyone's on about anymore. It's all war this and war that.
Peter said, watching James catch up.
Yeah, it's a bit of a pain in it.
Remus replied. He had meant it sarcastically, but poor Peter had never been very quick on the uptake.
Yeah, you know what I mean, don't you, Mooney? I just think... We're only 16. Can't we think about something other than doing the right thing all the time? We used to have fun.
Remus was only half listening. He stretched, rubbing his hip again to see if it would move for him.
Think I might to back to bed, Pete. Or the library. Why don't you go and see Desi?
What? You didn't know?
Peter stared at him incredulously as he helped Remus to his feet.
Know what?
Remus asked, arching his back again for good measure.
She dumped me.
Oh, shit. Sorry, mate. Was that last night too?
Last week?
Peter said, with an uncharacteristic coldness in his voice.
Sorry. I'm really sorry, Wormtail. Want to play chess instead, then?
Remus said again, embarrassed. He didn't think he had actually spoken to Peter about anything much in weeks. He'd been so wrapped up in Sirius, and the Wolf Pack, and Sirius, and Christopher. He resolved to do much better with all of his friends. After all, as soon as he turned 17, they would be all he had. Monday, January 16th, 1977. Remus was genuinely sorry to hear about Peter and Desi. She'd never really been part of their group, but she was a nice enough girl and had made Peter happy. She had given him something that James and Sirius did not have, and that was special in itself. The breakup had ostensibly been simply down to a change in attitudes. They had been seeing each other since they were 14, and at 16 it seemed that Desdemona wished to spread her wings a bit.
She might change her mind.
Remus suggested to a glum-faced Peter over their third chess game.
Doubt it. Reckon she's got a crush on that Roman Rotherhide bloke. Wanker, knight to F3.
I thought Mary was seeing him.
Mary sees everyone. She's like the girl version of Padfoot.
Peter sniggered, meanly. Ferox's reply arrived later that Sunday evening.
Remus, I'm afraid I can't invite you into Hogsmeade, but I can meet you for supper on Monday evening at the castle. I'll meet you outside the Great Hall at 6 p.m.
That was okay. Good enough. He could ask what he needed to ask anywhere. Remus went to his lessons as usual on Monday and told the marauders at lunchtime. Sirius was speaking to him again, but not properly. For every small step forward, he and Remus seemed to take 3 enormous steps back again.
I'm having tea with Ferox tonight, so I won't see you until later.
He explained. He knew James had Quidditch practice, which Peter would be watching now that he had no girlfriend. Sirius sat up straighter.
Should we come too?
Why?
Remus asked, fixing him with a cold stare. Sirius shrugged and looked back at his soup. By the time 6 o'clock rolled around, Remus was practically pacing the halls. He didn't want to look overeager, so he'd waited at the top of the landing before going down the main staircase at just 1 minute past the hour. This turned out to be something of a mistake. By the time he got there, Mary had found Ferox and struck up a conversation.
Remus, look who's here!
She grinned as he descended.
It's Mr. Lupin I'm here to see.
Ferox smiled easily, shaking Remus's hand. It all felt very grown up.
I'm trying to convince him to come back and teach us again. We miss him, don't we, Remus?
Yeah, of course.
Remus nodded. Mary smiled at him and touched his forearm, leaning into him in a very familiar sort of way. He couldn't remember if she'd ever done that before.
Can you wait here? Marlene'll be down in a minute. She'd love to see you.
She asked Ferox, still touching Remus.
I'm afraid we need to be getting on. Maybe another time, Miss MacDonald. Remus, shall we?
Remus followed Ferox up the staircase rather than towards the hall, leaving Mary at the bottom.
Thought we could do with a bit of privacy.
Ferox murmured.
Professor Kettleburn has kindly let me borrow my old office.
Remus had only been in the care of magical creatures' office once since Ferox had left, to request an extension on an essay after a full moon. Kettleburn was a Spartan sort of man who had chosen not to decorate at all, but who had stacks of paperwork strewn all over the place. Ferox tidied this neatly away with a swish of his wand before summoning drinks and 2 plates for supper. The food appeared just as it did in the Great Hall: ham, egg, and chips tonight.
My favourite.
Ferox smiled, motioning that Remus begin eating. They tucked in quietly for a few minutes, and Remus enjoyed the novelty of sharing dinner with a friend rather than hundreds of other people.
So, I wanted to talk about Livia,
he said, mopping up the last of his egg yolk with a chip.
Look at you. 2 years ago, I could barely get you to say 2 words to me about yourself.
No time to be shy anymore, I suppose. There's a war on.
Remus shrugged.
Don't I bloody know it. All right, go on, lad.
Okay. I don't want to join her, them, Greyback. I don't want to be a part of their pack or anything like that.
Remus took a deep breath. Ferox nodded, but said nothing. Remus, emboldened, continued.
But I think I could find them easily. I think they could find me. And they still want me. That's what Dumbledore wants, isn't it? A back door to the werewolves. I can do that. I know what I did was stupid. And I won't do it again. Not while I'm at Hogwarts. Not until I'm at least of age. But now I know her. Now I know what they're like. I'm not afraid. I can do it.
I see. Has Dumbledore said?
No. But I'm not stupid. He hasn't asked me to do anything because he never asks. He just makes sure you know what he wants. But there are things I want too.
And what are those?
I'm not signing the register on my birthday. I'm not exposing myself to the ministry. I've looked into it. If I do, I have to report to them for 3 days every month. They'll lock me up. I assume it's not very clear from the information they put out. I can't keep a job like that. If Dumbledore needs a spy, then he needs me to be untraceable too.
I see, but...
I'm not finished. Afterwards, if we win, I want amnesty for the werewolves, even Greyback's pack. Not Greyback, obviously, but his followers.
Remus, that's completely...
No, it isn't. You don't know. Livia might be batshit, but she's not wrong. A choice between freedom under Greyback or imprisonment under the ministry is an easy one to make.
Remus folded his arms. Ferox looked at him for a very long time. Remus drank his pumpkin juice, his throat very dry. His heart was beating so fast he thought that Ferox must be able to hear it.
These aren't necessarily things Dumbledore can do.
Ferox said, slowly.
Bullshit.
Remus set down his goblet a little too hard on the desk.
I can bring it to him, but I can't make promises.
Well, I'm 17 in 2 months, so there's the deadline.
Remus replied coolly.
Blimey, you don't half remind me of Lyall right now. What happened to the hot-headed kid always getting into scrapes?
I'm still hot-headed. I think Lyall probably was too. It's not that I think Dumbledore can solve all my problems, but I wanted to lay all my cards on the table.
Fair enough. All's fair in love and war, eh?
I wouldn't know about that.
Their plates vanished suddenly and then reappeared, bearing 2 big wedges of chocolate cake topped with fruit. They ate them quietly, both deep in thought, occasionally shooting looks at each other.
How's it going with Moody? I suppose you probably can't tell me anything.
Remus asked casually.
You suppose right. Moody's well, though. Complete nutter, but glad he's on our side.
And Achilles?
Achilles is fine, staying with a friend of mine. Speaking of which, how long's the romance been going on, eh, Lupin?
The what?
Remus stared at him wide-eyed. Ferox laughed.
With Miss MacDonald down there. I'd have matched you better with Marlene, but I suppose the heart wants what it wants, eh?
Oh, no, Mary's just a friend.
What's brought on this personality switch, then?
Why does it have to be about a girl? 2 years is a long time. It's not like I've suddenly changed. Look, I first said I'd help Dumbledore fight when I was 14. And then last year, James Potter told us all that he planned to join as soon as he left school, and we all said we would too, and I was always going to, you know, but just because James and Sirius wanted to. I never had a reason myself, really.
Remus said, annoyed.
We're all going to suffer if you know who wins.
Yeah, I suppose. I know that. But I meant... Well, I never really had much of a stake in it before. Now I've met Livia, I don't think anything's going to be that great for me after school finishes, no matter who's in power. I want a stake, if I live.
You shouldn't compare yourself to them, Remus. The pack.
I can't really help it, can I? Everybody else will. You know my friend Sirius Black?
Not well. The Potters took him in, didn't they? I thought it was a bit odd, knowing his family.
Exactly. Sirius is my best friend, and a Gryffindor, and the Potters love him. But to everyone else, he's still a Black. He'll spend the rest of his life trying not to be, no matter how many good things he does. Because people never forget things like that. They think that what you are makes you who you are. It's the same for me.
Remus was struggling now to keep explaining. Ferox looked completely lost. He sighed heavily.
I'm sorry it has to go through you. You're the only person I know who has any weight with Dumbledore who I trust. Who trusts me.
Ferox watched him again with a steady expression.
I will try, Remus. You're asking a lot.
Remus frowned. He thought about Livia, her bare feet, her ragged clothes, her terrible cough, and the hollow look in her eyes. It was no way to live. He might be asking for a lot. But Remus had never asked for anything before in his life. He hoped Dumbledore remembered that.